The fundamental premise in averaging should be for an investor that nobody is good at timing the market. That is a tenet one has to accept, because over a period of time, even the smartest investors figure out that it is impossible, almost impossible, to time the market perfectly. And therefore, no investor should want to deploy all his money or all her money into a stock in one shot. Portfolio selection or stock selection is paramount. It is most important. It should come before averaging or any kind of purchase decision. But having done the stock selection, one should allocate a certain amount of money towards that stock and buy in lots rather than deploy in one single shot, because buying in a single shot automatically implies that you are a perfect timer of the market and you know the right price for entering the stock. Since that is impossible to do, one should adopt what is the equivalent of an SIP approach for mutual funds to buying stocks as well, which is buy in lots, buy at different price points so that you get a good average entry point at the end of the whole process. That is the underlying principle, pretty much like SIP, of averaging in buying stocks. Averaging down is very, very important. And it's very different from averaging up, even psychologically. But in averaging down, an investor has to recognize that for various reasons in the history of a stock's journey, there are moments where stocks go through difficult times. And sometimes it is not necessary that a stock goes down because of a wrong step that has been taken by the management or because of poor performance. Stocks also go up and down because of the market environment. And therefore, often you see a stock which is going through a fairly good trajectory in terms of its own individual performance actually takes a big correction because the underlying market or the overall market around it is going through a correction. And that may be a good time for a person who has entered a stock already to buy more of the same stock, because nothing is wrong with the stock, something is wrong with the market, and that is giving you a price opportunity to average your price. So if you entered at a price of 100 and you suddenly see the stock at 80 rupees and you buy an equal quantity of that, you will get an average price of 90, which is a better entry price than the 100 that you bought the stock initially at. However, a caveat, it is not always right to average a stock on the way down, because sometimes stocks go down for very important reasons which may not be apparent to you but is sensed by the market, and you find out later that averaging on the way down in the stock's journey was actually a mistake. So when you're averaging on the way down, you must be very clear or try to be clear about the reasons why the stock is falling, and otherwise averaging down on hindsight might seem like a mistake. Averaging up is something which an investor finds even more difficult to do than averaging down. At least in averaging down, one has the psychological comfort of buying something at a price lower than the initial entry price, which makes a lot of rational sense. I'm finding the stock cheaper and therefore I'm buying more of it. However, on averaging up, you basically are anchored to an entry price which is lower than the current market price, and therefore it's like somebody who's bought a stock for 100 and sees the stock at 120. He says the stock is more expensive now than what I initially bought it at, and therefore should I be buying it? But that may be actually a mistake to avoid buying a stock because the price has gone up. What actually happens in portfolio creation is that you initially buy a selection of stocks, and then over a period of time, months, quarters, years, you find that some of the stocks are disappointing you in terms of performance and price performance, and some are actually doing better than you thought in terms of actual financial performance and stock performance. And therefore, what smart investors do is sometimes they weed out the disappointing stocks, and they keep pyramiding or buying more of the stocks which are actually doing well for them in terms of performance and stock price performance. And that is the essential quality of averaging up, that you keep buying more of the stocks which are actually working, and therefore at the end of a period of many years you have more of the good companies in terms of portfolio weightage and less of the companies which are poor quality stocks.